Hello all. Good evening. Thanks for spending time and joining our session. So probably I'll start sharing my screen. Just one- So let me know if you are able to see my screen. Just one. Okay. So probably I'll just talk a bit about our community and what we do and all. Then I will hand it over to Murli. So yeah, welcome all. So today we have session by Murli. So before that, I will talk about Azure Developer Community, where we are operating around 100 plus cities, and so far we have around 5,000 plus members. And in Tamil Nadu, we have with different cities and majorly with Chennai. Other than that, we have 11 more communities Madurai, Coimbatore, Erode, Dindigul, Salem, Tanjavur, Thoothukudi, Tiruchirappalli, Tirunelveli, Tirupur, and Vellore. We have separate meetup groups, and other than that, we are coordinating with the reskill team as well. Generally, what we are doing due to the COVID situation, mostly we are doing online meetups, and from last 2 months we started having in-person events as well. And also we conducted Azure Dev Day in Chennai and Coimbatore, and probably in future we are planning to do that in other cities as well. So you can follow us on our meetup group and you can get the updates. And also we will be having some notifications in Microsoft newsletters and reskill page as well. And also so this group we are focusing more to different level of people, starting from beginner and professionals and experts. So at a beginner level, if you are new to cloud and you don't know where to start, Azure, how to start. So all those things, we have lots of sessions, and also you can follow our Azure Developer Community in YouTube. So far, we conducted more than 100 sessions, and all our sessions are recorded one. You can see the existing talks and get it benefited. Other than that, we also do Azure certification study jam as well. So in the past, we did for example, AZ 900 or AA 900 or even solution architect level. Also, we did some study jam, and we was having some better talks from the industry experts and people who completed the certification. So how they completed. So that kind of podcast also we conducted, and also we are arranging people from corporate and startup and how they are utilizing Azure effectively. So that part also we are having. And finally, we have some fun contest and quiz. So where we are giving some certificate vouchers or some Azure subscription also. So it will be good for you to explore. So in the screen, you can see that Azure Developer Community Chennai. So similar way we have for other cities as well. So that's all about Azure Developer Community, and looking forward for you to join our communities. And thanks for your time. Probably I will hand it over to Murli. Floor is yours, Murli. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, Navani. Then let me share my screen. Okay, so let me bring the session. Okay, so good evening, everyone. So as Navneet said, so there are a lot of informations are there for you learn. Okay, so today we are going to cover up with the how we can build your own PDF connector by using the Azure function. See, whenever you do a workflow approval or any other process approval, the PDF generating the PDF is very important by using the Power Automate or the Logic apps or even in the Power apps. So what I'm trying to do is I'm going to use some of the third party APIs or the SDKs. Then I'm going to link with the Azure functions. Then we can build a connector. Then we can effectively use in the Power Automate solutions. Okay. So I'm working as a associate director in the company called Quanticate.com, and so you can see my blog links as well as the Twitter and the LinkedIn handles as well. So in today's agenda, so we are going to see the PDF SDK, some introduction about it, then how we can configure the PDF SDK. Then from the scratch, we are going to develop an Azure Functions, and we will be implementing some of the functionalities like compress or split or merge by using the SDKs. Then we will host these Azure Functions on Azure. Then we will be building the connectors from the scratch again. Then we can link it with the Power Automate solution as well. So at last we will see everything in the demo as well. So see, the iLove PDF provides a lot of options to manipulate with the PDF. Okay, so these are the what currently you are seeing in the screen is the ilovepdf.com. So where you can upload your file or files for merging the PDF, or you can convert doc to PDF or HTML to PDF or Excel to PDF, image to PDF. There are a lot of options are available. Even you can add watermarks, you can add passwords, or even you can remove passwords. Everything you can do it by a manual way. So I was impressed with this tool, and I was quite long I'm using it. But later I realized there is an SDK is available to access or the manipulate the PDFs programmatically. Then I was thinking that why we cannot do a kind of a connector between the iLove PDF as well as the Power Automate solution, so that it can be used. If you go to the Power Automate world, so there are a lot of PDF connectors are available, but 99% everything is on a subscription basis, or it is based on the number of action basis. Okay, so whereas the iLove PDF also it provides a kind of 250 files is free per month, but still it's okay for a small to mid-size organizations where they can effectively create their own PDF manipulation tools, and they can use it in the Power Automate solution rather than the paying for subscriptions. This is completely free. So in order to start with the iLove PDF, so there is a developer portal is there. So where you have to create your login and register yourself, then and you have to create a project. From the project, you can create a public key as well as the secret key. So these keys will be used in our Azure Functions for manipulating it. Okay. So let's see how we can quickly create this SDK. So let me go to the browser. Okay, so you can see, so I have registered here. So if you are a new user, then you can create an account, you can register it. So I'm logging in here. So once you logged in, so you will get into the dashboard. So you go to the API keys, then you have an option to add a new project. So you can click this. So you can give it any project name. So Azure demo. Okay, so there if you want to filter any of the access, you can do it, or even if you have the option for the public, then they can easy you can access the files without providing the secret key. So don't uncheck anything, just leave as it is. Then I'm saving it. So now you can see there is a new project key and the secret key is created. So this we have to copy, and we will be using it in our later use. Okay, and you can see a right side. So I'm consumed some of the files. It is 250 files per month is free, and I for the demonstration purpose and everything I have consumed some of the files. So that's why it says remaining is 206 files is available. If you want to use any webhooks also, you can call, and you can add new webhook, and you can use it in your programs as well. Okay. Okay, so if you want to know learn more about the documentations, then they have the API references documentations. Not only you need to use the SDK, even they have the web APIs connection, so you can use the web APIs, and they have a lot of samples in the GitHub as well, so you can access it. So for example, if you want to start your PDF, any of the PDF operations, then you have to do an authentications, then you have to do the start task, then you have to upload the files, then the process the files, this and download the files. This is their very simple workflow. So authenticate, start task, upload your files, process the files, download. So your operation is done. So these are the things it has been depicted in the documentations as well. Okay, so this is very simple to use it. But when I'm trying to call this API directly from the Power Automate custom connectors, I was facing some of the authentication issues. So I was instead of you playing around or doing the with the API, so I started using it with the Azure function. So that's the reason I'm using the SDK in the Azure functions instead of directly calling their API. Okay, so let's go back to the slides. Okay. Okay, so this is the very simple. So in the Visual Studio, they have the providing the I love PDF API. So then you can call their install their NuGet packages. Then you can create the PDF. Just a minute, I'll take the pen tool. So you can use the PDF API. You can create it with your project public key as well as the secret key. Once you are initialized, then you have to create the task. Okay, so here I'm using the compress task. So I have initialized with the compress task. Then the compress parameter, it requires some of the parameters. So what type of compression levels that you want to implement, whether you want to low, high, or extreme, so that you can choose it. Once you define the compress level, then you can pass it with the compressor, that is nothing but the task. Okay, so once it is processed, then you can download the file over here. I'm returning as the file content result from directly from the Azure Functions, so we can save it as a content directly. So that's why this example depicts. Okay, this also the same. Okay, so what today we are trying to implement is, so we are going to develop an Power Automate solutions. Then we will be building a custom connector. So directly the custom connector will call the Azure Functions with what kind of task it needs to be performed. So internally the Azure Functions will call the ILO PDF developer SDKs. Then we will be getting the output back to the Power Automate solutions. Okay, so let me open up the Visual Studio. Let's start from the scratch. So I'm bringing Visual Studio. I'm going to create new Azure Functions. Okay, so next. So I I have so many samples, so I'm just giving with the today's date. Okay, so I'm just creating it. So we are going to use the .NET 6, and it will be a HTTP trigger, and we are not going to use any authentication now. So I'm just selecting as anonymous authentications. So once the Azure Functions is created, so we will be installing the NuGet packages. Okay, so we got this. We'll go to the solution. So we will go to the manage NuGet packages. We'll go to install the I love PDF SDKs. So we got the I love PDF SDK. So I'm going to install it. So accepting the license agreement. Sorry. Okay, so it's good installed. Yes. Okay, so the I love PDF SDK is installed. We can close this. So let's come to the Azure function. So first we have to initialize with the I love PDF API. So I'm just removing everything. So just keep it very simple. Okay, so let's name this function name as compress. We'll start with compress because it's very simple. So we can upload the PDF file and compress it. Okay, so it will be on a post method because we need to upload the file. So it will be post. Okay, so then let's start initializing it. Okay, so low PDF. Let me initialize the low PDF API. First, let's import this so that it will be easy to bring all the namespace. So love pdf.core, then using love pdf.model task, because this is the use this task is used to create whether it is help you to identify whether you want to do a compress or split or merge. So then okay, so that's fine. So now we'll initialize with the love pdf api. So love pdf api. So we'll call this a api equals to new PDF API. Then it requires two parameters. So you can see here it requires the public key as well as the private key. So we'll go to the browser, we'll pick it up, we'll get the API keys. So this is the one we have used. So I'm just copying it and pasting it here. And the secret key, let's go and copy. Okay. So now we have initialized the API key. So this will take care of all the authentication and the authorization purposes. So we no need to worry about anything. So the next we need to define what kind of task that we are going to perform. So first we are going to do the compress task. So we'll define as a compress task. So I'm just leaving calling as a task. So then I'm going to create the new object. Okay. Then I can define what kind of compression mechanism that I want to do. So whether I want to do an sorry, what kind of a level of compressions that I want to do it. So we have to create the task from this API. So API dot create task. Then we need to define as a compress task. Okay. So now I will define the compression parameters as well. So let's go and define it. So we'll create a compression parameters. So new compress parameters. So we'll include the namespace control dot. Okay. So we included. So we'll define what kind of compression levels that we want. So we'll define compression level equals to compression level dot extreme or low or recommended. So I'm using the extreme. Okay, so now we have created the we have initialized the ILO PDF API calls. Then we have defined the task, what kind of task that we need to do it, and we have defined what kind of the compress parameters, whether we want extreme or low. Okay, so now we have to define the inputs. Okay, so we have to define the input files. Then we have to do a process. Then we have to download it. Okay. So calling the Azure functions, working with the locally as well as the with the remote or by hosting with the what do you say with the hosted with the Azure functions and called from the Power Automate works slightly different, because from the Power Automate it will become as a base 64 file. Okay, so whereas where if you want to test it in your local, so you can directly as you can upload as a HTTP file directly. Okay, so instead of converting it into the base 64, so to test it locally, so what we can do is, so we can do in a very simple. So we have to create a byte array, then we have to read the HTTP post file, then we have to read it. Okay, so let's do that. So I have to define a byte, so it will be in a byte array. So okay, I'll tell you why I'm converting into a byte array. So the task dot add file requires it should be an a byte array file. Okay, otherwise you should have the files in their clouds or something. So there are different parameters you can play around it. So otherwise you have to use a different parameters with the different parameters. So we have to define as a byte array. So I'm going to create the byte array. So byte array, I'm defining some default values for the byte array. Okay, so then we are going to read it from the HTTP post. So I have created the snippet here. I'm just pasting it here. Okay, so this one, what happens is it will read the values form data from the form async. Then we are reading the zero file. Okay, and we are converting their values into the byte array. Okay, so that's what we are doing it here. So then we can do the task dot add file. So we can use this buffer as a byte array that we have stored all the values in a byte array. So now once it is done, so then we have to download as a um, we have to return as a file content result. So I'm returning the response as return new file content result. Okay, so we have the values, the results will be there in the task, so we'll be reading the values from the task. Okay, so there is an option to download as a file as a byte array. Okay, as it comes as a task, so we have to read it as a result. Then the resulting content type will be application slash PDF. Okay, so okay, so now we can test this functions with the locally with the our fiddler or the postman. Let me build it. Pick up. Okay, so it's compiled without any errors. Let me start the Azure functions. Let me invoke the fiddler also. So the Azure function starts running. Let me invoke the fiddler. Okay, so the application still starting. So let's wait for a few more seconds. Okay, so the application runs on 7054 with the compress. We'll go here, we'll paste the URL. So, okay, so I'll just play or it should be form data. So let me open any one of the existing so that it's easy. So I'm going to upload a file. So I'll pick up the file from my downloads directory. So I'm using this is the file. So this file size close to 2 MB. Okay, so we are going to upload this file and this should be the URL 7054. Okay, so let's execute it. Let's see what happens is. Okay, so it says executing. So we should have added some log for the information purposes. So here also still okay, so it says it's failed. Download error. Okay, so it's expect something, we cannot solve the download. Check why the error. Okay, let's check why it's failed. That's good. Okay, we haven't called the process. Okay, so we haven't called the process, that's why it's got failed. So let's run. Even we can use the different REST API callers. Let's see. Okay, so let's invoke it from again from the fiddler. So let me click execute. It's executing it. Let's see the results. Yeah, so it says completed successfully. We got the status as 200 as well. So let's do it from the different one so that the files can be viewed easily. So I'll call this guy, I'll put this URL, and I'll upload the file, the same file. Sorry, it should be file. I'll choose the file, downloads. Okay, I'm sending it. Let's see. Okay, so we got the file. So you can hear. So we got the response is 200. So we can download the file. So it says the compressed.pdf is downloaded. So we can show in folders, and we can we can say the compressed file is like at 941 KB, whereas the original file has the 2 MB. So this is a very simple one, and the file is same. So we can see the number of pages as well. So quickly, so this is the compressed file. So let's see the number of pages. Okay, so it says 2 of 61. Okay, we'll open the original file as well, and you can see here also it is 2 of 61 pages. So this way, so we have now we have used the very simply the I love PDF API for the compressions. So let's convert this into an Azure Functions, and we will be invoking it from the Power Automate by creating the new connectors. For this, I have to make some changes because the data from the Power Automate comes as the base64 file. So I'm going to remove all this. Okay, so this is not really required. So this is requires only for our local testing. Okay, so I have already prepared the code snippet. So I'll just bring that. I'll just put it from here. Okay, so this log we will be adding it here so that we know whether this function has been called or not. Okay, and so the data comes as in the JSON format, so we have to we have to deserialize it. So I have created a class for that, so I'll just bring that as well. So I'll add into the same namespace. So it provides a list of documents, so that's why we'll add the generic one. So we define this one. So later, once we got all the documents, so we have to process it by using the number of files. But basically, for the compress, we'll have only one file, but that's fine. So okay, so when it comes as a base 64, sometimes there will be a padding issues. So we have to convert the plus into minus and the underscores with the slashes, and we have to add some the equal symbols also. So I will share into the chat why we have done this. Otherwise it will be say the PDF file is corrupted, so it will not be converted into a proper format. So and our PDF compressions or the PDF operations will be failed. Okay, so now we are ready with that conversion. So we have added the file here. So now we can directly call the process. So I can keep it in the down so that we can use it if really required. So then we can call the task.process, then we can convert. Okay, so now we'll host this into Azure Functions. For this I'll go to the Azure function Azure portal. I'll go to the all services. I'll go to Azure Functions. I'll create a new Azure Function app, then we will host it into the new Azure Function app. Okay, so Azure Forms. I'll create a new resource, Azure PDF demo 30. And we'll be using the container as a .NET. Okay, so we will give the name as Azure PDF. So, hello. August. Okay, so I love PDF demo August. So that is the one that I will have the Azure function hosting URL. Let's go and create it. So I'm not going to make any other changes in the Azure function app side. So that's what I'm leaving it as it is. I'm clicking create. So it will be created in few minutes. Once the Azure function is created, we will download the publish profile. Then we will use it in the Visual Studio for publishing it. Okay, it's created everything. Let's go to the resource. Okay, so we'll go to the resource, and so we'll get the publish profile from the home page. So we'll download this. So we got the publish profile. Okay, so let's go to the Visual Studio for the publish. So we'll choose the import profile. So we'll select the publish profile that we have downloaded now. So this is the one it is downloaded. You can see the timings. So we'll finish it. So it started. Okay, so it started publishing now. So let's watch in the output window. So once it's published, so we can create the custom connector by using the Swagger APIs. So already I have that. So let it publish. So I will open the Swagger API and I will explain. So let me bring the Notepad++. Okay, so the Swagger API provides the open API definitions for common communications or the inputs. Okay, so here we have different paths and definitions. So we have defined three different operations. So we have the API of a merge, compress, and split. So today we are going to see the compress. For the compress, what we are going to do is, so we are define the operation IDs, compress, summary, descriptions, and everything. So the parameter, it's nothing but the input parameter. So it defines the body as the input, and it says they refer the schema of the input PDF request. Okay, so let's come to the PDF request here. So here, what I'm doing it here is I'm just collecting the files and I'm sending it to the as a file object. I'm sending to the a requester. Okay, so then the files will be defined here, the input files. Then this one will this calls the compress API for the our Azure Functions API to do the actual compressions. Okay, so here is the host. It will be changed. So let's, okay, it says the function app is ready. So let's quickly see the function app first. So go to the functions. So we got the compress. Okay, it says the status also enabled. And here also we can see, so we need the function URL. So I'm just clicking the function URL. So I'm just copying it. I'm just coming here to the Swagger API. I'm just replacing here. Okay, so here it requires only the host URL. So I'm just removing all this. Okay, and I'm saving this. So the host we are saying here, and all the APIs will be called like API merge, compress, and the split and everything. Okay. Now we'll go to the Power Automate. Okay, let's go and build the custom connector. So we'll click the custom connector. Then we have to build a new custom connector. So we will we have it in the definition. So we can use the Open API file. So I'm just using the I love PDF demo of August. Okay, so I'm just going to import our definition files. So nothing but this is the file that I have made changes. We can see here the timings. Let's go and import it. Okay, so once we have clicked the import, so we got all the details. Here you can see it uses the HTTPS and what is the host. And if you click the security tab, it says no authentication. So we are not going to use any authentications for the demo, and defines what kind of actions that you want to do it from the Power Automate or the Power Automate or even from the Logic apps. So we are going to do the merge, and we can do the compress, and we can do the split. So these are the three different operations or actions has been defined. So let's see the compress now. So we can give the summary, okay, on the operations, what operations ID that you want to use. So you can see the URL, which URL it is going to call, so that you can see it. If you want to call it from the sample, so you can click and there will be a dialog where you can give the entire URL and the body details and everything. So here you can define if you want to import it from the sample, okay. And importantly, so we have to define the body. So because the body requires all the input parameters, so there is a request object that we defined, so we can go and see here. So now we can see says the document contents, okay. So you can click the document content, you just click here, it will say it will be on a binary format file, so that's what it is defined here, okay. We can go back here. If you want to make any changes on the PDF definitions or the input definitions, you can come here and you can see all the details here. So the same thing will be, it is basically for the reuse, okay. That's what we have defined as the definitions. So let's go to the next tab. So we are not going to do any of the code on the connector side, so we are not doing anything, so it is disabled. Let's go and test it. So we have to create the connectors. If you are good familiar with the Swagger editor, so directly you can click the Swagger editor, so you can directly change it from here, and even you can test it from here as well. So you can see what kind of model it uses. So it says what are the parameters that we have defined, so everything it comes here. Okay, so let's go and create the connector first. So for the inputs, so I have already defined the input files here. So you can see here, this is the file we are going to compress it, and we have tested the same file in our local Azure functions as well. So it says like a 2.5, 2.15 MB. So we are going to compress the file and we are going to store it here as well, and we can compare the inputs and outputs as well. Okay, so we have created the connectors. So let's go and create the connections. Okay, so let's create a new connection. So it's created here. Okay, so if you want to test it here, we can test it here, but it will be very difficult for the uploading the file content from here. Let's go and develop the create a new Power App, Power Automate flow. From there, we can test it. So let me go to the Power Automate my flows. I'll click new flow. So it will be an instant flow for the demo purpose. So I'll just prefix with August. PDF compress. So it will be in a manually triggered. So we'll click the manual trigger. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the file from the SharePoint. So I'm just going to call the file from the SharePoint. So I'm just calling the get file. So we'll choose this get file content by using the path. So I'm just clicking the SharePoint site. So basically, then I need to select the file. So it will be under the documents library. Then this is the file we are going to use it, so I just uploaded here. Now we have to call that our custom connector. So click new, then click the custom tab. So here you can see all our custom connectors will be available. Okay, so this is our custom connector. Unfortunately it hides the name, but in the tooltip you can see it is the demo August, so I'm calling this guy. And you can see there are three actions already we have defined in the custom connector, so it appears here. So now we are going to do the compress, so I'm just clicking the compress. So compress requires a file, so we have to give the input as the file. So already we are reading the file content from SharePoint, so I'm using this variable. Okay, so as we have defined as array, that's the reason it comes. But if you but actually we can tweak the swagger the custom connector definitions to improve it. Otherwise we can leave as it is, it's not in home. Once the compression is done, so we have to create the file as the output file into the SharePoint. So we'll create file, okay, on the SharePoint. Okay, so I'm just going to choose the same document library, so it will be under document library. Okay, so I'm just going as a result compress.pdf. Okay, the file content we have to give the output of the compressed PDF file. So I'm just leaving this. That's all. Let's go and run this now. And if you want to see any logs, you can come to the Azure Functions. You can click the monitor. Okay, so then you can click the logs. Okay, so now let's. Okay, our flow is saved. So let me go and run. So let's go and test it manually, as this is the first time. So it is manually. Otherwise, we can use the existing runs. So I'm just run. Hey, sorry. I'm sorry. I think the browser went back. It's calling the old. Select the edit. Okay, let me go and test. So we are in the August PDF compress. Continue. Run flow. Yeah, so we can see here. So the compress function is called. Okay. So it says the executed successfully as well, and we got even the output also, and we have created the file. Okay, so let's go and review it here. Ye- okay, so sorry, this is the one. So we can see here, so the output file is 941 KB, so the input file is the 2.15 MB. So we can see both the files. Open in browser, and the input file also open in browser. So you can see the file name, it's completely different, and it has the 61 pages, whereas the compressed one also it's a 61 pages and the file is completely different. So this is the way where we can link with the I love PDF with the Azure, with the help of Azure Functions, and we can directly consuming it in the Power Automate by using the connectors. Okay, so if you want to do it for the merge, okay, so we will do that as well. So for the merge, so we'll go to Azure Functions. We have to add a new function, so let's go and add it. Let me just go and add new functions. We'll call it as merge. Okay, so I'm just, so it will be HTTP trigger, so no authorizations. I'm just doing it. Okay, so as we'll directly delete everything, so we'll copy some of the content from the other functions. So still we can use the inheritance. We can define all these basic parameters into the base class, then we can do the inheritance as well. So let's copy these fellows. Okay, so we'll leave it here. Okay, so this one will be so this should be merge function called. So we will enable all the namespaces. Okay, so what else we needed? Okay, so here also the input parameters is very similar. So I'm just copying this. Okay, so before that we will define the task for the merge. So let's go. So it will be a merge task. So let's bring the namespace. So it helps. Okay, so it should be merge task. Okay, so we'll call it as a task. Okay, then we have to define it, get it from the API. So then merge task. Okay, so the input parameters are same. So we'll be having a multiple files, at least two files for the merge. Okay, so I'm just copying this file. I'm just keeping it here. Okay, so now we got all the input files. The input files are added into the task. Okay, as a byte array. Okay, then we have to call the task.process. Dot process. Then we have to download the output file as we have defined here. So it's the same statement. Okay, that's all. We are done with the merging the multiple files. Okay, let me go and rebuild and publish to the Azure Functions. Okay, so it's built successfully. We'll go and publish it. So in the meantime, we'll create another flow just for the merge. Okay, so my flows. Instant cloud flow. So we'll call it as August merge PDF. So it will be a manual trigger create. So what we'll do is, so we'll take all these files like the Azure Meetup Tanjavur demo and the serverless apps architecture patterns. So we'll compress all these files into one. Okay, so I'll just remove the other files just to keep it simple. Otherwise you'll get confused. Okay. Okay, so here also we need to pass the input files. So I'll just go and get the file content from SharePoint. Okay, so I'll just copy. So I'll just choose the same document library, share documents, and I'll take this file because it has only one page. Okay, then I'll copy this and I'll go and paste it. Okay, then as we have three input files, so I'm just copying two more times. Then I'll go and choose different file here. So then I'll go and choose the Azure Meetup Tanjavur. It has three pages, and here we'll choose the serverless architecture pattern document. It has 61 pages. Okay, so now we have created three input files. So then we will call our connector for the merge. So I'll click the custom, then I'll choose the our demo connector, then the action will be the merge. Okay, so it is asking what would be the first content. So I'm choosing the file content of first one. Then I can click add item. Then I can choose the second file content. Then I can add the third file content. So now we have inputted three different files for the merge. Okay. Then the next step, we have to write back the output. So I'm just calling the create file, the SharePoint. Okay, so I'm choosing the same document library. The folder path will be the document library. The file name should will be result underscore merge dot pdf. File content will be the output of the merge pdf files. So now we can save this. Now let's go and see what happened to the publish. So it says it's published successfully. We'll go to the Azure functions and see whether we can see it or not. So I'll go here. I'll go to the Azure functions. Okay, now we can see the merge as well. It is appearing here. So here also it will be the same endpoint URL. So it will be the same host name slash API slash merge. So you can see here it is API slash merge. Okay, so now let's come here. So already as we have defined everything in the connector, so we don't need to do anything. So let's go and run this. And let's watch the logs as well. So merge, monitor. It's done. So it's everything is completed. I think before the log starts, I think it's completed. Let's go and see the result file, whether we have done it properly or not. Okay, so we got a different file. So result.merge. Okay, let's first open the input files, the demo.pdf. So open in browser. So I'll close the other files. So it has only one. So it has the welcome, and the second one, open in browser. So it has like 3 pages of document. Okay, and the third one, we know it has the 61 pages. Let's open it. So it has 61 pages. Okay, now let's open our result file. Yeah, it has 65 pages, which is correct. The first page came here from the first document, and this is the second page document, the second documents pages. Okay, and we got the third pages document. Okay, so if you are familiar with the other, or if you want to do the other operations, then please go through the I love PDF APIs, and you can extend your knowledge with the split, adding the watermark or adding the passwords, removing the passwords, or even you can do the signatures and everything you can do as long as the I love PDF API supports. Okay, so with this, I want to end my demo, and so this is what we have built. Okay, so if there is any question and questions, please feel free to post it into the chat session. So I will be happy to assist and answering it. Okay. Navneet, that's all I have done with my demo. So definitely I will share this code into the GitHub repository, and I'll come back to post the the link URL into the comment sections as well.
Sure, Murali. Thanks a lot for your session, and it is very informative. So probably I'll talk from my perspective. So probably this demo involves Power Automate and the other stuff also. So we have to be have some knowledge on that as well. I remember one of your previous session you gave on that, so I have to see that and get it linked up. And definitely this will be useful for people. And going forward, maybe we can have some continuation session also with this, so that we can keep explore things.
Yeah, I agree with you. Even we can split this session into multiple. So only how to create a custom connector by for the existing API, rather than you create it from the scratch, so that people will understand what is open API definitions, how to create the Swagger files and everything.
Correct, correct. Definitely. So definitely this will be an interesting session, and thanks for your time. Looking forward to have more sessions from you. Thanks for sharing your
Definitely.
knowledge.
Thanks, Navneet. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Have